Our first step to our glam guide is to color the cover for it. And I've got my Heidi Swapp chipboard Invisibles here, and this white sheet is going to end up looking like this. I know, hard to believe. But we're going to be using a couple of different colors of Glimmer Mist. I've got 4 here: Rose Tea, Candy Apple Red, Pink Bubblegum, and Cranberry Zing. So these will all work together. We've talked a lot about choosing color, but if you have trouble figuring out what mixes well and what goes together, just pick a favorite scrapbooking paper that you're going to be using, or you know, just a favorite one in general, and try to copy that, try to mimic it. One thing that's important to know about the Glimmer Mist is that if you mix them together and they're still wet, they'll create a new color, basically. So what you want to try to do, especially if you're working with contrasting colors, is spray an area, dry that, spray the next area, dry that. Because if you spray them on all together, they'll mix together and create a new color. Now, if you're working like I am today with reds and pinks, and they're not going to mix together and create a new color, then it's okay to do that. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to spray some on and dry it, but I'm going to be working with all 4 colors together. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing, and let's get started. We are all set to color our Heidi Swapp Invisible chipboard. When you open your package, there are 2 sheets in each package, so I'm just going to set one sheet aside. I'm not going to be using that, and we're going to be making this white sheet look like this using our 4 colors of Glimmer Mist. You do want to a couple things. You do want to wear something that you don't care about, because this tends to get a little messy. You get sprayed on yourself, and you just don't want to wreck anything nice. The other thing is that when you shake these up, sometimes if you sprayed it and then you reshake it, it tends to pool around the nozzle here. So if you shake it and the lid is off, you're going to get it everywhere. So just keep that in mind. And then also, you obviously want to work on a surface that is protected, and I always like to have a roll of paper towels near so that I can wipe things off. The other thing is that this is our first step, because we are going to be scoring this in the Cricut. Now this is very, very thick. We've tried it with the deep cut blade. We've tried it with blade depth of 6, max pressure, all that jazz, and it still just basically scores it. But I'm going to score it and then use that as a guide for my craft knife. So that's how I'm going to do that, instead of like tracing around my shape and then cutting it out separately. So anyway, let's get started with our coloring. I'm going to set this aside, and the reason we're doing this as the first step is that we want this to dry completely before we put it in the Cricut to be scored. It tends to, as you can see on the back, kind of seep around the edges and get a little soft. So we want this to be completely dry before we try to score it. So let's just start out here. I've got all 4 colors: my Rose Tea, my Candy Apple Red. And you want to have an embossing tool or a heat tool handy, because we're going to use that to kind of dry it off between layers. So I'm going to hold it pretty darn close and spritz, and you can see how my design is coming out. That's the Resist. This is such a cool, cool product. I love this new paper. Then once I've done that, I'm going to take my heating tool, and I'm going to just push that Glimmer Mist around and get it to kind of mix together and dry. So this is all dry, and it's a little messy because I've got some run marks where the Glimmer Mist kind of pooled up. So I'm just going to take a Clorox wipe and wipe it over the top, just lightly. And it kind of takes the edge off of those runs and kind of cleans up where everything ran together. Our paper is all colored, and we're ready to move on to our next step.